money. It shapes decisions, it defines lifestyles, it builds nations and breaks families. But behind every dollar, every transaction, every dream, there's something deeper. There's psychology. This isn't an audiobook about numbers. It's about what moves those numbers, your thoughts, your emotions, and the invisible patterns that decide whether you struggle or succeed. Welcome to The Psychology of Money, an audiobook designed to change not only the way you manage your money, but the way you think about it. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't start in your wallet. It starts in your mind. In the next chapters, you'll discover why some people with less live with more peace, why others with millions stay anxious, and why emotional intelligence often outweighs financial education. We'll explore 10 timeless principles, from mastering discipline and patience to redefining wealth as freedom instead of possession. By the end of this journey, you won't just understand money, you'll understand yourself. And when you do, your choices, your habits, and your future will never be the same. So take a breath, because the greatest investment you'll ever make begins right here with awareness. Chapter 1. The Mirror of Money. Money is not a reflection of what you have. It's a reflection of who you are. Every choice you make with money, every purchase, every impulse, every plan reveals something about your fears, your values, and your discipline. That's why two people can earn the same amount, yet one builds wealth while the other builds debt. It's not luck, it's mindset. You've probably heard that money doesn't change you, it reveals you. That's true, because money amplifies character. If you are disciplined, it multiplies your discipline. If you are careless, it multiplies your chaos. The first rule in the psychology of money is simple. Before you try to control your money, you must learn to understand your behavior around it. Think about this. When you get paid, what's the first emotion that hits you? Relief, excitement, or anxiety? That emotion tells you everything. It's your emotional fingerprint on wealth. For many, money represents safety, a buffer against uncertainty. For others, it's validation, proof of worth, and for some, it's freedom, the power to choose. Each story is different, but the emotions are the same. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion from money. It's to understand it, to recognize when fear pushes you to save too much or when desire drives you to spend too freely. Because once you see the emotion, you can control it. And once you can control it, you can build wealth from the inside out. Money is a mirror. If you don't like what you see, don't change the reflection. Change yourself. Chapter 2. The Discipline of the Dollar. There's a powerful rule that never fails. If you don't respect $1, you'll never respect 1,000. Wealth doesn't begin with a windfall. It begins with discipline. A single dollar saved intentionally carries more value than 100 spent thoughtlessly. Because that dollar represents self-control, and self-control is the foundation of every fortune. Most people think their financial problem is lack of income. It isn't. It's lack of consistency. They underestimate small decisions because they crave big results. But wealth is not built in leaps. It's built in layers, one disciplined habit at a time. The truth? Every purchase is a vote for the future you want to live. You either vote for your freedom or for your limitation. And those votes compound. When you spend carelessly, you're saying, my comfort today matters more than my peace tomorrow. When you save with purpose, you're saying, my future deserves my discipline. You don't need to be rich to start thinking rich. You only need to start making decisions that a wealthy mind would make, because wealth isn't about how much you earn. It's about how long what you earn stays with you. Every person you admire for their success began with one simple decision: to master their impulses before mastering their income. They learned that small, disciplined actions today compound into invisible advantages tomorrow. Respect your money, and money will start respecting you back. Chapter 3. Mindset over Math. If numbers built wealth, mathematicians would rule the world. But they don't, because money is emotional before it's logical. The greatest financial advantage is not intelligence, it's mindset. Two people can have the same numbers on paper, yet live in entirely different realities. One spends from insecurity, the other invests from patience. The difference? Perspective. A poor mindset asks, how much can I afford to spend? A wealthy mindset asks, how much can I afford to grow? A poor mindset sees money as something that runs out. A wealthy mindset sees it as something that multiplies when handled wisely. Your beliefs about money shape your relationship with it. If you believe money is scarce, you'll act with fear. If you believe money is abundant, you'll act with creativity. And both beliefs become self-fulfilling. That's why the most powerful shift isn't financial, it's psychological. You can read every investing book, follow every savings rule, but if your belief system stays rooted in fear, no strategy will save you. You must train your mind before you train your wallet. Let's be clear. Money management is not a science of spreadsheets. It's a philosophy of self-control. Because when your mindset changes, your math follows. And that's the moment wealth begins. Not when you earn more, but when you think better. Chapter 4. Freedom over fame. We live in a time when people buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people who don't care. Social media has turned comparison into an addiction, and that addiction is expensive. But here's the truth. The richest people in peace are not always the richest in possessions. Freedom is the new luxury. Ask yourself, would you rather look rich or be free? Because real wealth is the ability to wake up without financial fear. It's being able to choose work you love instead of work you need. It's sleeping at night knowing your money works for you, not the other way around. Freedom doesn't shout, it whispers. It lives in the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. When you save, you are not depriving yourself. You are buying your freedom. You are buying options, security, and control. Every dollar saved is a tiny piece of your future independence. True wealth is invisible. You can't always see it on Instagram, but you can feel it in peace of mind. So the next time you feel pressure to spend just to appear successful, remember this: financial peace will always outshine financial display. Chapter 5. The emotional investor markets rise and fall. Opportunities appear and vanish. But the one constant variable in every market and every economy is human emotion. People don't lose money because of bad math. They lose it because of bad moods. Fear makes you sell too soon. Greed makes you buy too late. Impatience makes you act when waiting would have multiplied your reward. If you want to master wealth, master your emotions first. Learn to be calm when everyone else panics. Learn to wait when the world screams. Now, the wealthiest people are not the smartest. They're the most emotionally disciplined. They understand that control creates compounding. Money reacts to emotion the way fire reacts to wind. It can grow or it can burn everything down. You decide which. So before every financial decision, pause. Ask, is this driven by logic or by emotion? That single question can save you years of regret. Money doesn't follow intelligence, it follows emotional maturity. And that emotional maturity begins with awareness. In the next section, we'll explore one of the most misunderstood ideas about money, why wealth is rarely seen, and why true fortune lives below the surface, not above it. Because the psychology of money is not about showing success. It's about building peace, quietly, patiently, and powerfully. Invisible wealth and the long game. Real wealth rarely announces itself. It doesn't wear designer logos. It doesn't scream from luxury cars or glitter on social media. Real wealth is quiet. It's the calm in someone's eyes who doesn't owe anyone a thing. That's the paradox of money. The people who have it don't always show it, and the people who show it don't always have it. True wealth isn't visible because it doesn't need to be. It's stored in freedom, in options, in control over time. And that's why so many people miss it. They chase visibility, not stability. They chase symbols, not substance. They chase applause, not alignment. But here's the truth. The most successful people are often invisible in their success because they're not living to impress, they're living to progress. Chapter 6. The Illusion of Rich. In every era, humanity has struggled with one dangerous illusion, the illusion of appearing rich. You see it everywhere today. Pictures of vacations, cars, branded lifestyles, curated perfection. But most of those images are borrowed, financed through debt, built on insecurity, painted over fear. And while the world applauds the image, the truth remains silent. The illusion of wealth is intoxicating because it gives temporary validation. It feels good to be admired. It feels good to be noticed. But attention is not security, and admiration does not equal freedom. There's a phrase worth memorizing. Looking rich is the fastest way to stay broke, because the pursuit of perception traps you in endless spending, trying to maintain an image instead of building an asset. True financial maturity begins when you stop buying what impresses others and start investing in what strengthens you. The wealthiest minds know this. Every dollar you don't spend to look rich buys you time to actually become rich. They don't chase admiration. They chase autonomy. They're not addicted to attention. They're addicted to freedom. They'd rather be underestimated than indebted. And that's a level of confidence you can't fake. Chapter 7. The Long Game. The biggest psychological divide between the rich and the struggling isn't income, it's time, horizon. The average person thinks in days and weeks. The wealthy think in decades. Wealth is not a sprint, it's a marathon of discipline. But most people never see it that way because patience doesn't sell. Urgency does. The world constantly whispers, act now, buy now, upgrade now. But wisdom whispers something else. Wait, because time is the most powerful multiplier in existence. And patience is how you access it. Let's put this into perspective. If you save a small amount and invest it consistently, time will make you wealthy. Not luck, not timing, not even brilliance. Because compound growth is the quietest miracle in finance. It's not dramatic, it's invisible, but it's unstoppable. And yet, most people destroy it by quitting too early, spending too fast, or losing focus too soon. Here's the truth. Most don't want to face. You don't get wealthy by getting lucky. You get wealthy by staying consistent long enough to let time do its job. I met a man named Jonas in Copenhagen. He wasn't famous. He didn't have flashy success. But for 30 years, he invested a small part of every paycheck, never missing a month. While others bragged about new cars and vacations, he stayed patient. 3 decades later, Jonas was free. Not just financially, but mentally. He told me, "I don't need to retire. I already live free every day." That's the long game. It's not about waiting to enjoy life someday. It's about creating a life where time works for you instead of against you. Chapter 8. The Cost of Impulse. Every financial decision has 2 prices, the one you pay now and the one you pay later, the visible cost and the invisible cost. Buying impulsively feels good in the moment, but the silent cost is what it takes from your future. The opportunity you never see because you traded it for instant pleasure. That's why emotional maturity is the highest financial skill. It's not about earning more, it's about controlling less. Every time you resist an unnecessary purchase, you buy a piece of your freedom. Every time you delay gratification, you add interest to your future peace. Impulse is the enemy of compounding. Because compounding doesn't happen in days, it happens in decades. So train yourself to think longer. Before spending, ask, will I still value this in 5 years? If the answer is no, walk away. Because what you avoid wasting today will multiply tomorrow. And remember this truth. Wealth is what you don't see. The house you didn't buy, the vacation you didn't take, the car you didn't upgrade. Invisible wealth is built by visible restraint. Chapter 9. The Energy of Enough. No matter how much money you make, you will never feel wealthy if you never feel enough. Enough is not a number. It's a mindset. Without it, you'll chase forever, always running toward an invisible finish line that keeps moving. You'll live in constant comparison, measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. But when you learn to define enough, you unlock freedom, because wealth isn't about having more. It's about needing less. The goal is not to eliminate ambition, it's to align it, to know when more adds value and when it adds stress. Once you define what enough means to you, you stop chasing shadows. You stop feeling like you're behind, and you start focusing on what truly matters: stability, peace, contribution. Enough is not settling. Enough is mastery. Because the moment you can say, "This is enough for me," the world loses control over your happiness. Chapter 10. The Hidden Currency. Every human being trades in 2 currencies, money and energy. And the second one is more important. Money can be regained. Energy cannot. Yet most people sacrifice their time, their health, their relationships chasing numbers that only make sense on paper. But the truly wealthy, they balance the 2. They know when to push and when to pause. They understand that every yes to money is also a no to something else. That's the final secret. Money's only valuable when it enhances, not replaces, the life you're building. Because what good is financial success if you're spiritually bankrupt? What good is earning more if you no longer feel alive enough to enjoy it? True wealth is harmony between growth and gratitude, between ambition and peace. And when you master that, you stop chasing money and start attracting it. The richest people aren't those who have the most. They're the ones who need the least. If this chapter shifted something in you, pause right here and hit like, not for applause, but as a promise to yourself that from this moment on, you will play the long game. And in the next section, we'll go even deeper. You'll learn why your relationship with money mirrors your relationship with patience and how to build emotional stability that outlasts any economy. Because wealth doesn't belong to the loudest or the luckiest. It belongs to the calmest. Continue when you're ready. Because what comes next is the emotion of wealth, the emotion of wealth. Calm minds, compounding lives. Money has always been emotional. It's never just numbers. It's security, status, pride, fear, control, love, legacy, all hidden beneath the decimals. You can't separate how you feel about money from how you behave with it. That's why the key to wealth isn't just discipline, it's emotional regulation. Because if your emotions rule your money will always rule your emotions. Let's begin with the truth no financial course ever teaches. Your emotional stability determines your financial longevity. You can have the best plan, the best portfolio, the smartest strategy, but if fear, greed, or impatience dictate your moves, all logic collapses. Emotion is the silent variable that turns millionaires into cautionary tales. But here's the good news. Once you learn to master your inner state, you become unshakable in every economy. Because wealth, at its core, is calm energy. Chapter 11, The Market Inside Your Mind. The real market isn't out there. It's inside you. Every day there's a bull market and a bear market fighting for control in your mind. Confidence and doubt, optimism and fear. Your future depends on which one you feed. When you let panic win, you sell too early. When you let greed win, you buy too late. When you let calm win, you grow consistently. The external market is uncontrollable, but your internal one is not. That's why emotional investors often outperform intellectual ones, not because they're smarter, but because they're steadier. Because patience is a form of intelligence too. So, the question becomes, can you stay still when everyone else is shaking? There's a reason calm people attract abundance. Their peace communicates confidence. And confidence, not chaos, is what money trusts. Wealth is drawn to stability like gravity. It moves away from noise, panic, and desperation. When you stop chasing and start building quietly, opportunities start coming to you. Because people sense peace, they sense clarity, and they trust it. Chapter 12, Emotional Inflation. In finance, inflation erodes value over time. In psychology, emotional inflation does the same. When gratitude disappears, satisfaction fades. You begin needing more and more just to feel the same. A bigger house, a faster car, a newer device, but the joy doesn't last. Because the baseline keeps rising. And that's how emotional inflation bankrupts happiness. The antidote? Gratitude. Gratitude is the mental currency that prevents emotional inflation. It reminds you that wealth is not something you chase. It's something you recognize. You can't grow what you don't appreciate. Gratitude slows down your mental economy long enough to show you abundance where you thought there was lack. When you live in gratitude, spending becomes intentional. Saving becomes joyful. And investing becomes purposeful. Because gratitude turns money from a measure of status into a tool for stability. Chapter 13, The Calm Investor. Imagine two investors. One checks his portfolio every hour. He reacts to every dip, every headline, every whisper of change. The other checks it once a month. He knows time does the heavy lifting. guess who ends up richer? The second one, always. Because the calmer you are, the longer you can stay invested. And the longer you stay invested, the more compounding works in your favor. It's not intelligence that wins, it's temperament. Emotional discipline is what turns ordinary investors into legends. You don't have to be the smartest, just the most consistent. You don't have to predict the future, just endure the present without panic. Because in money and in life, endurance beats brilliance. Chapter 14. The Fear Paradox. Fear keeps people safe until it starts keeping them small. Many people never build wealth not because they lack ability, but because they're afraid of loss, of risk, of uncertainty. But here's the paradox. Avoiding risk completely is the riskiest move of all. Inflation, time, and inaction are silent thieves. They eat away at your wealth slowly, invisibly. And one day, you wake up realizing safety has cost you freedom. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to educate it. Fear thrives in ignorance. It weakens with understanding. When you learn how money works, when you study history, cycles, compounding, fear loses power. You stop reacting to every market drop and start seeing opportunity where others see doom. That's why financial education isn't just about wealth. It's about peace. Because the more you understand, the less you panic. And the less you panic, the more you grow. Chapter 15. The Emotion of Enough. That's the word that turns anxiety into contentment. When you realize you already have enough, you start acting from abundance, not desperation. You stop chasing, and your decisions become cleaner, calmer, wiser. Money behaves differently in the hands of someone who feels enough. Because when you're no longer ruled by scarcity, you make choices for growth, not survival. Scarcity says, I must have more. Abundance says, I already have what I need. And ironically, abundance attracts more. That's why gratitude isn't soft. It's strategic. It creates emotional wealth that precedes financial wealth. And without that foundation, no amount of money will ever be enough. Here's a question to ask yourself tonight. If money wasn't an issue, what kind of life would you build? Not the house or the car, but the rhythm. Would you still chase? Would you still compete? Or would you finally breathe? The truth is, money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy space. And in that space, you can finally choose the things that actually make you happy. Money is a tool for freedom, but freedom begins with calm. If this part resonated with you, pause for a moment. Hit like, not as a reaction, but as a promise to yourself to start building emotional wealth before financial wealth. Because emotional mastery is what keeps everything else standing. And comment below. Which emotion rules your financial life most? Fear, greed, or peace? Awareness is the first investment you make in wisdom. Now, as we continue, we go one level higher, from understanding emotion to mastering perspective. In the next part, you'll learn about the quiet power of perspective, how your definition of wealth determines your destiny, and why most people lose not because they fail, but because they play the wrong game entirely. Because wealth is not a competition, it's a comprehension. Continue when you're ready. Your perception of money is about to change forever. The quiet power of perspective. We often assume that money is universal, that everyone's trying to win the same game. But the truth is, we're not even playing on the same field. What looks like success to one person might look like stress to another. And that's where most financial unhappiness comes from, playing by someone else's scoreboard. You can't measure your peace using someone else's ruler. The moment you realize that your financial goals, your pace, and your priorities are personal, everything changes. Because money, when viewed through your own lens, becomes less about competition and more about creation. Less about what others have and more about what you can build in alignment with your values. Chapter 16, The Game of Comparison. The human brain loves comparison. It's wired for it. It's how we measure progress, social status, safety. But in the realm of money, comparison is poison. When you compare your financial chapter 3 to someone's chapter 20, you set yourself up for endless dissatisfaction. And dissatisfaction makes you spend. It makes you chase. It makes you prove. That's why social media has become one of the most expensive addictions in history. Not in money, but in mental energy. Because you're constantly exposed to highlights that look like normal life. You see someone's wins, not their worries. Their possessions, not their pressure. Comparison makes you forget how far you've come. It blinds you to your own growth. The antidote isn't to stop looking, it's to look inward. Ask yourself, am I playing to win my own game, or am I still trying to prove I belong in someone else's? Because until you make that decision, peace will always feel like it's just one more purchase away. Chapter 17, The Personal Definition of Wealth. Here's a truth most people never stop to consider. Wealth is not a number, it's a feeling. For some, wealth is freedom. Time with family, creative work, mornings without alarms. For others, it's security, a paid-off home, savings that calm the mind. And for a few, it's contribution, the ability to help others at scale. Each definition is valid, but the tragedy is when people live their whole lives chasing a definition that was never theirs. Society teaches accumulation, but real wisdom teaches alignment. You are wealthy when your lifestyle aligns with your values, not when your possessions exceed your peers. Because the more your life reflects what matters to you, the less you care about what the world expects. And that's the first step toward real peace. Chapter 18, Perspective and Patience. Perspective creates patience. When you zoom out far enough, temporary setbacks lose their sting. You stop panicking over every market drop or unexpected bill because you realize everything is cyclical. Seasons of scarcity and abundance both serve a purpose. Every period of waiting is teaching you to value growth over gratification. Every detour is building financial resilience. The people who thrive are not those who avoid storms, but those who see beyond them. They know that success is not measured by immediate outcomes, but by consistent direction. When you live with that perspective, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift changes your entire financial future. Chapter 19, The Weight of Expectations. Every dream comes with an invisible tax, expectation. When you earn more, people expect more. When you succeed, others demand that you sustain it. And when you try to live differently, society questions your choices. But here's what most people don't realize. Every expectation you accept becomes an expense. Because expectations cost energy. They cost focus. They cost authenticity. And if you let them, they'll make you spend your life performing instead of living. The psychology of money teaches one vital lesson. The less you try to impress others, the richer your life becomes. Because when you remove the pressure to prove, you remove the need to overspend. And that's where clarity, creativity, and confidence return. Freedom doesn't begin with income. It begins with independence. Independence from opinion. Chapter 20. The currency of time. Money is renewable, time is not. That's why the ultimate form of wealth is control over your time. When you can spend your hours doing what fulfills you with people you love without anxiety about survival, you've won the game. Time is the currency the world keeps trying to sell you back after taking it away. That's what every marketing campaign, every sale, every upgrade really costs. Your hours, your peace, your focus. The psychology of money is really the psychology of priorities. What you trade time for reveals what you truly value. The wealthy are not those who have the most to spend, but those who've learned to say no. Because every yes to something meaningless is a no to something that matters. So guard your time like treasure, because that's exactly what it is. Chapter 21. The long view perspective gives you something the world no longer values. Patience. Patience gives you something money can't buy. Wisdom. And wisdom gives you something no one can take. Peace. When you can zoom out far enough, you realize that all wealth is cyclical. Money grows and shrinks. Opportunities appear and fade. But the one constant you can control is how you respond. You stop seeing setbacks as signals of failure. You start seeing them as recalibrations. And the longer you can stay calm, the more your perspective compounds, like interest. That's why I often say the calmest minds compound the fastest, because perspective lets you keep showing up when everyone else quits. The richest perspective is knowing that wealth is borrowed time, and gratitude is how you pay the rent. Before you move on, take a breath. Ask yourself, what does wealth mean to me, really? What am I chasing, and why? If this reflection hits something real inside you, pause for a second and hit like, not for vanity, but as a small act of awareness. Then share your answer in the comments. What's your personal definition of wealth? That single reflection can change the trajectory of your financial life. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when psychology meets legacy, how your relationship with money affects not just your life, but the generations that follow. Because money doesn't just buy comfort, it builds cultures, and the story you write with yours will echo long after you're gone. The mastery of money. Freedom, awareness, and the art of enough. Mastery begins when emotion ends and awareness begins. When you stop reacting to money and start relating to it. When you stop chasing more and start defining why. Because mastery isn't about owning wealth. It's about understanding it. It's knowing that money is neither good nor evil. It's simply energy, shaped by the hands that hold it. And when your mind is steady, your money becomes steady. Chapter 34. The wealth within money has limits. It can buy comfort but not character. It can buy convenience but not clarity. It can buy experiences but not peace. Wealth within is the power to remain steady no matter the balance. To feel abundance even when numbers fluctuate. To see opportunity where others see fear. That's the moment you realize the goal was never to master money. The goal was to master yourself through money, because money is just a mirror, and mastery means finally recognizing your reflection without distortion. The mind you build in pursuit of wealth is the true asset. The habits you develop, the patience you learn, the calm you cultivate, those are the dividends that never decay. Chapter 35, The Final Balance. At the end of every financial journey comes one realization. The balance sheet that truly matters is internal. Assets. Your discipline, your awareness, your peace. Liabilities, your fears, your impulses, your need for validation. When you understand that, you start managing your life like your greatest investment. Because it is. And the goal becomes simple, to increase what adds meaning and reduce what subtracts peace. Every day you make microtransactions, moments where you trade time for money, emotion for attention, calm for control. Choose wisely, because your daily choices are your daily investments, and the wealthiest life is one where your peace always stays in profit. Mastery is not measured in money. It's measured in peace. Before we close, pause. Take a moment to breathe. Reflect on what you've built just by listening, reflecting, and understanding. You've learned that wealth isn't the finish line. It's the reflection of your inner stability, multiplied over time. It's not how much you have. It's how you hold it. If this audiobook changed the way you see money, hit like, not for me, but for you, as a contract with yourself that says, from now on, I choose awareness over impulse, patience over panic, and freedom over fear. And drop a comment below with the one idea that shifted your thinking the most. Your words might help someone else start their journey toward calm. And if you want to keep growing, learning, and building yourself every single day, subscribe. Not to follow content, but to stay consistent with your own transformation. And finally, share this audiobook with someone who needs peace more than profits. Because awareness spreads faster when it's shared quietly. Disclaimer: this audiobook is for educational and motivational purposes only. It does not provide financial or investment advice. Its purpose is to help you build emotional intelligence, self-mastery, and perspective around money, so you can make decisions aligned with your values and vision. Money is temporary, but the mindset it builds in you, that's eternal. In the end, the goal isn't to have everything. It's to feel enough, give enough, and live enough. So remember this: the richest life isn't lived through what you buy. It's lived through what you understand. Build yourself every single day. Think longer, breathe deeper, and let your silence and your discipline create the kind of wealth that never runs out.